Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Charlie at a Temple 420 and a 420 Bible study, and God is one and Hashem is our God.
Billions and billions of years ago, we all from single cell.
We're going to go back to Psalm 2 and read the second half of His Anointed. Here we go. Baruch Hashem.
Sorry, Charlie, these tricks are for kids. You can't trick the truth, cause I just blew up the lid. See now, everyone wants to know exactly where we came from. Was it really God, or are we just paused from? Charlie says you and me came from the sea.
I've never heard this song before, seriously.
Charlie, please, what's in between? Ever seen a half giraffe kangaroo with two wings? Or what about a platypus? Explain it to us. A fossils that travel vertically in the Earth's crust. Why do we listen? Human amnesia. What we're missing is the knowledge that feeds ya. 10 trillion years of evolution can never account for the creation that we live in. 10 trillion years of evolution cannot account for the creation that we live in.
Wow. Okay, so I totally hear that, and then I confirm it with the thoughts that I've already heard, and I put it all together. I'm like, okay, Charlie, you're going to explain it because you're explaining things anyways, but here's just one more confirmation from the outside world, how I communicate to people that can hear my frequency level, which at that point it's a higher frequency, and it's more often. See, frequency at that point. So we're going to pick it up in Psalm 2. We're going to go a little longer on this one, probably the 640 or the 840 or whatever time I figured out. But we're going to be in Psalm 2, and I want to look at the second half and then re-look at the words. Because when you start to see what God uses for words, you put them on one side or you put them on the other, and it's either the beer line, and then you're going to go in the urine line, or you're going to change lines, you're going to QnA lines, you're going to break off the chains and put on new shackles. At that point, you're going to switch aromas and start worshiping Hashem. That's what I did. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm preaching. Oh my goodness, did I just say that word? Please do not call me a preacher. Just call me Charlie. And tell somebody that they should read their book as well. Okay, so it says, I will proclaim the Lord's decree. He said to me, you are my son. Today I have become your father. Ask me, QnA, and I will make the nations your inheritance, the ends of the earth your possessions. You will break them with the rod of iron. You will dash them to pieces like pottery. Therefore, you kings, be wise. Be warned, you rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and celebrate His rule with trembling. Kiss His Son, or He will be angry, for His wrath can flare up in a moment. Blessed are all who take refuge in Him. Now we have some really, really interesting stuff. God just said, kiss His Son. And that'll be blessing if you take refuge in Him. Well, at that point, I do remember Mom saying, love you, bye. Bye. You're in my thoughts. You're in my prayers. Oh my goodness. So as I've learned, generation after generation after generation after generation has passed down the genes of the Son. Not the sun, the ball. That's fire and wood. That's Enoch. That's the 7 great mountains, as I understand. But with this, let's look at Psalm 2. We're going to give another quick offering because I totally want to take a break and just think about what God has created. That is the food for thought. If you don't think about God, He doesn't exist. If you don't bring Him any food, He's going to starve. You'll have half the inspiration. I think the story that Jesus said is, oh yes, the seed falls where it may, and it'll land on shallow-minded people, shallow soil. Or it'll take root and dig, and then get big roots. Oh my goodness. And then you grow up to be like a tree, Careful though, in Daniel, the prophet said, you are that tree, you arrogant fool. And then a year later, he's like, oh, look at all the stuff I've created. I've done this, I've done that. Look, fire. Remember that movie? Yeah, he's lost on an island. And he finally makes fire with his volleyball friend, as we flash back a little bit. Please tell me what the name of the movie is. One of these days I'm going to go live, now that we got the 420 videos going. But he says, look, I created fire. Fire! I'm like, no. You figured out how to start a fire. And that's what I figured out. So, I figured out how to start a fire internally that honors God on the inside of the temple as Moses would come and do the daily offerings in accordance with what? The Torah. And that's what Jesus actually did. He said, your burnt offerings and sacrifices you were not pleased with. And it was only when he said, here I am, here to do your will. Now the first part is, everybody in the Old Testament just screwed it up. Only Joshua crossed over, and only Phineas, or Caleb, one of the two. Actually, I think it was Joshua and Caleb. They crossed over and restarted. And then restarted. It's always a restart with a remnant. That's the remnant of Israel, as I best understand. So at this point, hello, I think I'm a remnant, but in this part that I understand, there's a twilight offering. There's an entire baptism that we are not even aware of. Baptism by the cloud. It's confirmed when Paul talks about it. But the baptism by the cloud is the fragrant cloud of incense that rises, not in Ezekiel 8, where it's in secret and they're totally just stoners going, hey dude, what do you want to do on Friday night? Blah, 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 blah. Like the story that my old pastor told. He was passing the bong around and he heard a voice inside his head, that voice, right? Okay? And he said, you should stop swearing. I'm like, okay, so he put down the bong and stopped swearing and became a Christian. I'm like, great, but the connection that you just had, which Paul speaks about again, is they exchanged the glory for the world and then went out and preached the Bible. Like they're told, they're doing a great job, but they're always looking for what? The blood, the bread, the fire, the Trinity, the 3 in 1? I don't know. But I think, based on what the book says, it's all about fire, wood, water, and air. That's how it's made. So when you have fire, wood, water, let's create the new air. And I think when Jericho falls, and at the end times, which is really close, guys, this information I didn't have 3 years ago at that point. So let's start to pay attention to the coach. Forget about religion. Forget about, you've seen what it's done, right? Religion is run amok, government is run amok, everyone's at odds. The guy in the White House, the orange guy in the White House, okay? I happen to know that his heritage and his in-law, it's Jewish, it's Torah, it's Israeli based. That's why the whole discussion about Israel is going on right now. That's why they've got Philistines on the side of Philistia. Oh my goodness, we still have the battles. They haven't stopped until the end is done. But now that we found the dot that's missing in the V that takes QnAwGoD to QnAwGoD, and the bosom is bosom, and that's how we're reborn? Yeah, that's what I know. That's what he's taught me. That's why I'm here. So Baruch Hashem. Rise from the ashes, everyone. I guess I just kind of announced what I even think it's tough I'm not announcing something, I'm just telling you what I believe. For those who hear it, they become believers. That you can transform your body from 185 pounds, completely bleeding internally, no air when you're sleeping, and that's the funny part because it says air, right? So with that, let's look at the words again. We'll pick it apart and we'll finish this video at 12:40. We'll do it at 12:40. 420 backwards. Okay, why do the nations conspire together? The fallen angels. Why do they plot in vain? They have a blood rush. They have all these ideas, but they go the wrong way. The kings of the earth rise up. That's us. We're kings. We just didn't know we had a rule. We didn't know we had a ruler, or we could rule air. Oh my goodness, ruler, measure, ruler, as in rule over, or rule air. Or air in your ways. Or what air and presence do you bring? Can they smell your intentions, right? So, they band together against the Lord and His anointed. So at that point, that is the fallen angels, the 200 that like on Friday afternoon, they're like, hey dude, let's go out tonight. What about Dad's Sabbath? Screw it. Let's just go. Okay, you know what? Enoch's correct. All for one, one for all though, because I'm not taking the blame for all of you suckers. Okay, great. We're all going to go down. And that caused it. And then they filtered out their sperm. And then there's like, oh my goodness, that's infectious. How do you clean the infections? Well, you have to clean the inside. It has this world has nothing to do with the outside. That's the trick. Oh my goodness, I just said that out loud. Revelation. Again, the inner part versus the exterior part. But at that point, with a minute left, let's get to the words. Let us break their chains and throw off their shackles. All right, so the one enthroned in heaven, looking down on the stadium, laughs. He scoffs at them, but he rebukes them in anger and in his wrath. And if you go back to Numbers 16:46, at that point it says, hey, Moses told Aaron, go grab your censer. Run into the middle of the assembly and offer the aroma to do what? Stop the plague. Stop the wrath. Calm the guy down. He's a bit jealous and mad that no one's feeding him. Can you imagine trying to feed a lion? So I went to a enlightening ceremony the other night as we close out the video. They were all starting out with their bells and their deep breaths, and they were going, Om. And I'm like, okay, it's actually H-O, home. And they're actually breathing in and they're breathing out. So everybody wanted to find that space, an emerald fire in their belly, as one person said. I'm like, okay, that's the pot of fire. Oh, pot of fire. It's the pot of fire. Potiphar. We'll be back. Baruch Hashem.